Joining us now is Susan Page, USA Today's Washington bureau chief, Jim Messina, White House deputy chief of staff during the Obama years, and David Jolly, former Republican congressman. So, Susan, for one issue is a third-party threat. So how does that cut? You've got RFK Jr. going. You've got, others talking about third parties. Whether they can get on the ballot is another question. But what are you seeing?
Well, when you talk about third parties, definitely a bigger prospect this time than in recent years, because there's so much unhappiness among Americans with their two likely choices. Where does it cut? Well, interestingly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., despite his famous Democratic name, seems to hurt Trump more than Biden. And he's drawing some significant support, 22% in one poll, 24% in another. That is the kind of numbers we haven't seen since Ross Perot.
I was going to say that's a Ross Perot number. It was 19 or 20%, even after he had dropped out in the controversy. So, Jim Messina, you were in Chicago this weekend with the Obama Foundation, and Obama's senior advisor, David Axelrod, whom you know so well, you all work together, he posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that President Biden's reelection bid should, he said, if he continues to run, he will be the nominee of the Democratic Party. What he needs to decide is whether that is wise, whether it's in his best interest or the country's. So a very negative comment from a top advisor who certainly worked closely with then Vice President Biden.
Yeah, look, I agree with Susan. I think RFK in the end hurts Donald Trump more than he helps anyone else. I think the Democrats are united behind Obama for two real reasons, Andrea. The first is that he's gotten a bunch of stuff done. He's been a historic president. And the second is Democrats view Donald Trump's election as the last moment of democracy. And they know that Biden beat Trump last time. He'll beat him again. The other thing is there's just no panic right now among Democrats because they look at these polls and remember that this same time during the Obama re-election, the New York Times Magazine put him on the cover and said he was toast. Bush trailed at the same point. Clinton trailed at the same point. Obama trailed at the same point. To your point about the very beginning, we have a long ways to go here. And next year, this race will finally solidify between Trump and Biden.
Jim, let me just ask you, but trailing by as much as he's trailing an incumbent president against a Republican potential nominee, likely nominee, who's got 91 criminal indictments against him? Look at those numbers. In, 5 out of 6 battleground states.
Yeah, at this same time, Barack Obama trailed Mitt Romney by 5 points nationally and trailed in every single battleground state. So these polls just this far out are historically really bad predictors of what happens next year. What's more interesting is election results. And so I think tonight we're going to get a whole bunch of election results from a whole bunch of bellwether places like Pennsylvania, like Virginia. And then we'll start to have real data instead of silly polls.
And David, let's look at Iowa, because the governor there, very popular governor, Kim Reynolds, now has endorsed Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, who has had problems with his own campaign. He's tied in these latest polls 16-16 with Nikki Haley for far behind second place. So do you think that that endorsement will carry him, or will it really depend on how he does in tomorrow night's big debate?
History suggests not, that it won't make a difference, but this is one of those moments. You always wonder, could there be a catalyzing event, specifically in an early state like Iowa, that allows Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley to become more competitive? The Iowa governor is enormously popular. She had said she wouldn't endorse, but it was clear over the last 3 months that DeSantis and his wife, Casey, were really courting Kim Reynolds, and Donald Trump was insulting Kim Reynolds. So not a real surprise. Does it help DeSantis? He needs it to, because Iowa is quickly becoming a must-win state for the Florida governor. I would say the takeaway from the CNN New York Times poll, though, is this, Andrea. The most trouble it spells is for DeSantis and Nikki Haley, because they are trying to make a case to Republican voters, including tomorrow night, that Trump can't win. This poll says he can. It takes away the DeSantis-Haley argument. They've got nothing left to take to Republican voters. And
Susan Page, let's talk about Michigan Representative Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. She's now facing 2 different censure resolutions on the House floor today, following her pro-Palestinian phrasing that some claim is anti-Semitic because of its use by Hamas. Alyssa Slotkin, the only Jewish member of Michigan's congressional delegation, took to Twitter and said, in part, I have worked to reach out to Arab and Muslim constituents who I know we're feeling fear and anguish right now, and I have tried to reflect that empathy in my approach to this crisis. I ask the same of Representative Rashida Tlaib. This is a problem for the Democratic Party. Michigan is one of the states that Joe Biden is underwater in.
This issue is dividing the Democratic Party in a big way along ideological grounds, along generational grounds. We find younger voters on whom Democrats depend, especially sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians, but obviously a long history of support for Israel. So a vote on censoring the Congresswoman is one that's going to be very tough for Democrats to take.